Okay, so today we're going to talk about some ethics from a couple of different case studies that we have. So,
Okay. So the first step that we're going to talk about is the identifying relationships in each of the case studies. So, um,
okay, so in the first case, that's talking about the Somalian parents and family that they're coming to this early childhood family life education, and the family life educator goes to the parents' house, and the dad pretty much does all the talking. The mom doesn't say anything, and is clearly dominant. And then he later in a note mentions that he doesn't want his son playing in the housekeeping area when he comes to the facility in the child play area. So, I mean, one relationship obviously there is the husband and wife relationship or the mother and father relationship. Um, and then of course also like the family life educator relationship with the dad and with the mom, like even separately.
yeah, I think that's good. And we can even, let's see, um, can there even be a relationship between the family life educator and the son? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, she is come the or he or she doesn't say, but the family life educator is going to the house, and I guess there's also in the case talks about the other. I mean, there's a lot of, and there's also like the parent and the child, so that relationship is also there.
Mhm. Um, okay. What what is the primary caring relationship for the educator, or the educator needs to address in this case? I
Um,
think maybe the first one would be, um, I don't know, to the mother, possibly, because, you know, well, I don't know. It also depends on the culture, right? I mean,
yeah, I agree. But I think another possible. I'm sorry, I just had a thought and then I blanked. But I think something that as a family life educator could address, I think importantly, what they're like the reason that they're coming, I think mostly is for the son, obviously, because they're bringing him to this facility. So I think that's an important one for the family life educator to pay attention to and kind of facilitate that relationship within like the parents and the son. So like the parent-child relationship, I think is important. I
mhm.
think now that we like after they went to the house and realized what the cultural family relationship is like, it might be important to maybe address that. Um, but of course, at the same time, then you have to respect the culture and say, okay, this is their culture, but at the same time, you want to make sure that both parents are engaged in the child's life. It's not just one, so you run into a little bit of an ethical dilemma there.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
and so then like the quality of the relationships, I mean, from this case study we can't really know exactly what the quality of like the husband and wife relationship is, so we can't really
Right.
know that too much.
Right. I was thinking.
Obviously,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say obviously the father is like more dominant over the mother, especially like when it comes to a social setting.
Right. I was going to say that, I don't know if because they're in a different culture and we may not understand how that works, but they could have like a really good relationship, I think. Even if the relationship is, he's more dominant and she kind of stays back. But I do think it's was interesting when the mother was by herself with her son in the little play area. She was, what did it say? She participated well, even though she couldn't really speak English. She was, she was participating, and that, but when she was at home with her husband, she wasn't. She was really quiet, and so maybe that is almost like a hint of abuse. I think maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it could just be again a cultural thing. We wouldn't really know. But I mean, and then we can talk like and obviously like the mom's development versus the dad's. I don't know how. It didn't say exactly how well the father spoke English, but he obviously did most of the talking to the family life. But it did say that the mom didn't really speak very good English, even though she was kind of overcoming that. So as far as like education or like developmental stage, I think they're all pretty well developed. It's just like the English barrier is a little bit different. But again, that's again with the culture.
Okay. Do you want to move on to step 2, which is some ethical principles?
Okay, so one of them that I, of course, thought of was I will respect cultural beliefs, backgrounds, and differences, and engage in practice that is sensitive to the diversity of child-rearing values and goals. Because I mean, that's like the main one that sticks out, just because they are of a different culture, and then the dad not wanting the son to play in the housekeeping area. But I mean, we have to recognize that that's part of their culture. And it does, like, we know it doesn't specifically mean anything negative about the boy. It just is part of their culture that the housekeeping area is not for boys in their culture. And I mean, even
Right.
in the American culture, we would agree with that to an extent.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that number 3 and number 9 on the Code of Ethics?
That's number 3.
Okay, so number 9 also is kind of the same, same kind of thing, but I will support diverse family values by acknowledging and examining parenting practices that support healthy family relationships. I think that kind of goes, diverse families along with.
Yeah, I think so. I like having the diverse family values. Like the dad values the boy to play with more, whatever he would approve as boy approved type of interaction. But examining the parenting practices that support healthy family relationships. I mean, overall, I think their family relationships is a healthy one. It doesn't say that anyone's abused. It doesn't say that anyone is unhappy. It's just like recognizing that cultural background and saying, okay, well, this is just how they do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or negative, but
Right.
Culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one that I thought of was number 10, the one right after. In problem solving and decision making, which could also, I mean, that one could cause a little bit of attention, which like goes into step 3. But I think that one is another one that kind of sticks out as like the mom is not as involved when the dad is there and available.
Mm-hmm. Oops, I lost my little. Sorry, hang on. Okay, any others that you want to mention?
I think number 16 works for just about anything. I will support healthy interpersonal relationships among all family members, because I mean, that's just a plain and simple blanket that it's in our ethics to help people, where you want to promote healthy interpersonal relationships. We're not trying to make anyone look down or feel bad. It's just that we want to promote those healthy relationships within family members.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Which is contradictions of relevant principles. So what are some potential and actual contradictions or tensions among or between relevant principles?
Well, I talked about that before with the including parents and other family members, because I mean, it is in their culture for the male to be dominant in the situation, as explained in the case study. but at the same time, like, you want the mom to be involved because, I mean, we know as an educator how important the mother's role can be,
Right.
as well as the father's role. I mean, and it's great that he is involved, but I mean, at the same time, you want to try to help her be more involved without stepping over that cultural line.
Mhm.
So that can be that can be a hard line to walk, I think.
I think so as well. Yeah, yeah, I just think, and I don't know who brought it up. Maybe it was you, or maybe it was our teacher, but or yeah, maybe yeah, it was you about the person that you work for, was educating themselves about LDS people because she was helping someone. So maybe, to not have to, um, step on anyone's toes, you could educate yourself about their culture, and then you may know, better.
No, I think that's really good. I think that would go under like the possible solution is obviously to learn more about the Somalian culture. I
Mhm.
mean, that's like the number one solution. I don't personally really know anything about the Somalian culture. I mean, do you? I don't know.
I have no idea. No. Nope.
So I think if I had this case, I think it would be like my first priority to brush up on the culture and say, okay, how is their culture like? What do they think? And maybe try like you brought up about the doctor in my office. She was asking me a bunch of questions about the LDS culture. What's offensive, what's not. And I mean, honestly, just more, but she just wanted to know because she has several LDS patients. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, getting that information firsthand from somebody who's in the culture can be really helpful. So,
Mhm.
I mean, but the beyond that, I think that doing some research or looking up what you can will help to like make that a solution.
Mhm. Real quick, I just wanted to go back to the um, number three. We were talking about this before, and you brought up um, that so the husband doesn't want the son to be playing in the kitchen area, and you said that kind of fosters play, right? Isn't that what you said? Like, helps developmental things within the son. Um, and we, as family life educators, want to foster that. And so, could that possibly be um, some sort of tension?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's a good point. Big thinking, like my idea specifically from that is we of course want to respect the parents' wishes and we want to make sure that we're supporting them so that they feel that they're in control of their lives and their children. It's not us saying this is what you need to do or anything like that. They're still the parent and we want them to, which is also uh, and which I'll do with the second principle. I will strive to understand families as complex, interactive systems where parents have the primary responsibility as educators, nurturers, and limit setters for their children. So, I mean, even though this is kind of this is something really cultural to them. Obviously, they're like boys don't belong in the kitchen type of
Right.
thing. But I mean, we want to make sure that the parent is still the parent. They still have the primary responsibility. So I think that goes along really good with what you were saying about how they don't want him in the kitchen and stuff like that, and how it would just kind of be our job to maybe point him towards another thing that he would like, try to find something else he would like, but still foster that play and that development.
Mhm.
I think that could be a possible solution for that.
Yeah, and that's what we'll go to now. Is so that is one solution. What was the other solution that we said before? Um, Learning about the culture
Hmm.
solution. Um, what else? I think I don't know. I personally think the one about learning about the culture is probably the best.
Yeah,
That
I
way,
would agree. Because I think that's going to be the basic foundation. Once you learn about that, then you're going to have a more understanding. You're going to get, I think that's just going to be like the starting point. Like, oh, okay, now I understand the culture, and then you can learn more about, then you can kind of develop off of that and say, okay, now I know kind of the ins and outs of the culture, what they think, how, how they kind of interact as a family. So I think that would go a long way to helping out.
mhm. Okay, do you want to move to the last one, which is actions that reflect or reflects adherence to the ethical principles? Um, so, what actions um, reflect adherence to the ethical principles? Um, would that sort of be the same thing as the one in the step 4, which would be the solutions? Kind of educating yourself.
Yeah, I think well, I think like some of the would be to, again, like I said kind of before, was kind of steer him or like kind of stimulate his interest in something else that the father would approve of, or an action of getting the parents more involved, something where the father and mother are involved in some way. I think that sort of an action would be beneficial to, well, both to like to the family in general and to this one child that is coming to the facility.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe do some things that are, from the culture. I think that would be helpful. I think that would be helpful to like both the parents and the son, because it would make the parents happy to. I mean, I don't know much about the Somalian culture again, but usually they have each culture has different things that they do. Any type of maybe there's like games or dancing or something like that that is of the culture that I think would help to make the parents happy and teach the kid about the culture and maybe make them a part of that.
Uh-huh.
And that's one. It's one
I don't know if this maybe fits under the solutions or this actions one, but the very last sentence in the case study, it says there was no discussion of the housekeeping area in the home at the home visit, and maybe you know if there is a next home visit, actively talking about, and like in a group setting with everyone, the husband and the wife and yourself or whoever it is, talking about you know why, since it seemed like the husband was kind of abrupt and like, none of this is going to happen, for my son. He's not going to be in the housekeeping area. So maybe
Yeah.
an open discussion as to why that is, even if you have educated yourself about the culture. Um, I don't know. Does that seem like a good idea?
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of wondering about that part, like about the that it says there was no discussion of the housekeeping area at the home visit.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought was maybe the dad really didn't know. Like maybe he didn't know that the son was playing at the home area. I mean, the mom might just not have said anything, and then later
Mm-hmm.
he finds out because it says
Yeah.
after maybe the dad went there, or she finally was like, oh yeah, he was playing in the kitchen area or whatever, and then he was like, no.
Yeah.
I mean that could have happened. We just really don't know. I mean that's kind of what I got from there. Is like after a few weeks, there was no discussion of the housekeeping area at the home visit. I mean either he didn't know that that was happening, and that's why there was no discussion of it at the home visit, or he just didn't feel comfortable
Walking.
staying in person for whatever reason. So I mean those are
Yeah.
the options there that I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. I agree with you. Okay, do you want to go into the second case study?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and move on to the second case, which is about a mother and daughter. I think it's a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
mother and child. She she's going to this class for toddlers and their parents, and then the mom kind of alludes to the father being abusive, and so so the job of us is to support the mom and the daughter, or it is a daughter, without upsetting the family relationships. But the father will pull the family if he feels like he's being threatened. So okay.
Okay, so the first question is the identify the relationships within this case study. I think the
mother and the father relationship there is a huge, important
yeah,
one.
important.
Yeah.
And I also think the mother-child, because you know, in an abusive relationship, the mother and the child probably have a pretty strong bond. If the mother's trying to protect the child from the father.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but the mother and the child are at this place together specifically for a mother-toddler type of environment.
Right. And then another relationship could be everyone, mother, child, or toddler, and husband and yourself, because I'm assuming that they're wanting to get help, or at least the mother is.
Yeah, I think one that really sticks out to me would be like the family life educator and the mother, because if she's alluding to the father being abusive, you want to have a lot of communication with the mother as to what's going to make him feel threatened type of thing. I think that the a really important relationship so they can continue to receive support would be between the mother and the family life educator. I think that relationship is really important to this case.
Mm-hmm. And building trust too, because if I don't know, for whatever reason, I've never been in an abusive relationship, but I would imagine that trust would be a very big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Second step would be the ethical principles.
Okay.
And yeah, go ahead.
I think the first glaringly obvious one is the abusive relationship and having to report that to some type of law. We have to respect the law, and we don't want to cause harm to anybody. We don't want anyone to be in harm. I mean, even though the dad might pull if he's feeling any sort of if he feels threatened, but I mean, if there is abuse going on, it is our ethical responsibility to report it to someone above us. Someone who can actually do something, whether it be someone in the legal system or it's our responsibility, like ethically, to report if there's abuse going on.
Another one that I kind of just thought of, and it's I don't know, I would hope, but at the very end of the case study, it says that the father will pull the family from support if he feels threatened. So a good one would be, sorry, I just lost it. Number 14, which is I ensure that all family members have access and are encouraged to participate in family education. So maybe, if he doesn't feel encouraged or whatever, and he feels like, oh, it's them against me or something like that, that he feels encouraged to participate. I think that would be also a good one.
No, that's really good. I think that's kind of important. I think that if you were to feel more involved, maybe rather than like someone trying, like he's the problem or something, maybe if he felt more involved, he'd feel more like he wanted to do or be better. I think that is a good principle. I think another principle from the Code of Ethics is I will respect and accept parents and other family members for who they are, recognizing their developmental level and circumstances. It talks about how the toddler and the mother both have kind of some developmental delays. So they both have, they're both, not all the way developed to where they should be. So, I mean, we need to recognize that and kind of help them at that level and not be overcomplicated.
Right. I think that was a really good point that you brought up there. Okay. Any others that we can pick out here? I think those are really good ones. I feel like for the most part, probably, most of these could apply to any situation. but but those I think were probably the best for this one.
Hmm.
Um, the next step would be the contradictions of relevant principles.
The biggest one here is definitely going to be the father going to, yank him from the support if he feels threatened. I mean, it feels like somehow threatened in my mind means like he, is a little bit paranoid, kind of conspiring against him type of thing. If he feels that way, he's going to pull him from the program. And I think that's a really hard situation to be in because you want them to receive help, but at the same time, you are ethically responsible if there is abuse going on. It's your ethical responsibility to say, hey, I know there's abuse going on here.
Right, and maybe that's what you were just saying, but the actual abuse would be attention, or right? I mean,
oh, definitely.
Yeah. That one, and let's see.
But at the same time, we also don't know if it's for sure, because in the case study says the mother alludes to the father being abusive, but
Right.
it's not coming out and saying, you know what, my husband is beating me or beating our child or anything like that. It doesn't specifically say. The mother just kind of alludes to it, but it's not like we know for certain. But I mean, if we even suspect it, if we suspect abuse, we're still supposed to report it ethically. I mean.
Right, and it does say that you've heard from others that the father is, kind of dominant in the family, and I'm sure at some point
right.
Yeah.
Well, and based off of his paranoia, if he feels threatened, he's going to yank him. So, I mean, that type of paranoia happens when fathers are abusive. They don't want people to find out or, something like that. So, that is the intention.
Sorry. Right. One thing that did kind of stick out in my mind is, like, if he is kind of, hovering over them or is abusing the mother and or the child, whatever, I thought it was kind of interesting that he is allowing them, or he's okay with them going to, get help or, be in this sort of environment. I thought that was kind of interesting, but so I don't know. That just it almost contradicted itself, I thought. But I guess there's lots of situations.
I'm like, well, if he's worried about being caught for abuse, then why is he even letting them come to this place in the first place? And I mean, the mom could have put it in a way where it's like, oh, me and little Timmy are gonna go to this place, and it's just for mothers and toddlers, and we're just gonna learn about stuff and to be a better mom or something like that. I mean, and I can understand him being okay with that. But again, it is kind of that's why he said if he feels threatened, he's gonna pull them. So meaning, if she says anything, or maybe she feels that if she says anything, that he's gonna yank him from the program, and that'll be it.
Okay, so the next one is possible solutions for this family.
I think the solutions here would be really hard because, like, how can you support the mom and daughter without causing upset in family relationships? I mean,
I think
it's really hard because if you report for abuse, the family is going to be upset. The relationship. Sorry, anyway.
Yeah. I think, and I don't have like a ton of education in this specific field, but I mean, in dealing with abuse and like how to deal with abusive people, but I think like a main one would be having everyone be comfortable with you, like we said before, having the mother be able to trust you, and then maybe the husband at some point could trust you as well, and they don't feel like you are an authority figure, that you're going to like you're the police that's going around like, okay, you're abusing her, so I'm gonna tell you what you're doing wrong or whatever. So maybe that's his feeling threatened. So that could
That's
right.
true. No, that's good. You're making a lot of sense there because I mean, if as a good family life educator, what you would want to do is help the mother, maybe help the mother to be a little bit more. The word assertive is coming to my head, but I don't know if that's the right word. Um, but I mean, just help her to be better in the situation. Maybe to have a conversation with the dad. I mean, and it's talking about it being abusive. We don't know what type of abuse this could be. This could be like emotional abuse or something like that, where he puts her down all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that abuse is physical abuse. So I mean, emotional abuse is terrible as well, obviously, but maybe you could support the mom and the daughter in that type of scenario. And obviously, the daughter is a toddler because they're at this class for toddlers and their parents. So I mean, I think in this situation, you would mostly be supporting the mother and supporting her as she tries to, raise this child and then also tries to overcome this possibly abusive husband or.
Right. Another thing is if she is actually being abused, any type of abuse. I'm mostly thinking physical, but really any, like you said. If she is, and then you have a solid relationship with her, then she can feel comfortable coming to you and saying like, okay, I need to get out of this. Like, what do I do to help me, take the next step of to, I don't know, finding someplace to go or, something like that. Um, okay. Any other solutions that you can think of?
I don't think so. I think we covered pretty good ones.
Okay. So then the last one would be the actions of adhering to the ethical principles.
I think the first action would be to maybe report to whoever's above you and just say she is alluding to she's alluding to abuse, but she hasn't come out and told me or said anything specifically. Only what I picked up, and so I mean I think that would be the first action I would take was just to say to whoever is above me or maybe not, specifically report them, but maybe just say, this is happening. I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but it's suspicious because, I mean, I think that would be my first action. We'd say, this is suspicious.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm sorry if you had already brought this up, but under relationships on the code of ethics, under relationships with colleagues, number 4 is I will follow the mandatory reporting of abusive family behavior in a respectful and prudent manner. Did you say that one, or was that a different abusive one? I think it was. But,
I don't think I said. I mean, I talked about abuse, but I don't think I said that specific principle. But it's perfectly fitting for this case.
right. So that could also be one is, and I also like that they put in the word respectful. So like I said before, it's not like you are the, the police that are going around and like saying, like giving you a slap on the wrist or this husband, whatever. You're doing it in a respectful way and you're really trying to help the family rather than, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but do you know what I'm saying?
Like, what do you mean? Like, rather than tear them apart, you're trying to help them be better?
Right. Even though it may seem that way, and from their perspective, in reality, we're trying to do good and help them when they may see it, being like, yes, we're ripping my family apart.
Right. So I think, like, I think another action I would take would be to maybe speak with the mother and try to get her, just become a little bit more close to her. I think that would be my second action after reporting it to someone to say, hey, this is happening. Respectfully, this is happening. I don't know 100%, but that would be my first action. My second action would be to talk to the mother a little bit more closer, maybe ask her if she needs any help with anything or what I could do to give her a little bit more information on certain things if she's worried about. I mean, even if that information is like about her kid or about her situation, because I think giving her information would be helpful in her situation. So I think I would specifically focus on how I could help the mother, specifically in this case, to be a better mother to the child, but also to maybe explore this possible abuse the relationship that she alludes to.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the dad's willing, if the father is willing, I mean, he can even become a part of this as well. Like we said before, with involving all family members in the family life education as much as possible, to involve him to the point of uh, maybe he would want to learn more about family relationships. I mean, because we don't know what his background is.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know his circumstances and stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying like almost offering or bringing him into the like counseling room, whatever you want to call it, and to help, helping them, bringing them closer together, kind of.
Or maybe just about being a parent, about being parents together, about working together,
Mm-hmm.
or even giving them more education and information on marriage, about having a relationship and how you could be equal partners, and I mean giving them that type of information. Obviously, not counseling because we're not counselors, but I mean specifically giving this type of information could be helpful to their relationship and as it doesn't specifically say if they're married, but just getting husband and wife or as parents. So I think that if he would be willing to learn about that information beyond just her learning about it, then I think that would help them a lot. I think that'd be a good action to take, is to involve him more if he's willing.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Okay, I think that's all of our questions.
Yeah, I think so. I think we covered everything from the ethical dilemmas and stuff from both the case studies. So overall, I think that was good.
Okay.